And what is composure in photography? It is one simple thing. We call that the golden ratio, okay? And this works for anything whenever it comes to photos. So, golden ratio, let's look that up. It looks like this, okay? All these little grids right here fumbled together by a nice loop. Now, why does this work like this, okay? Whenever you use the golden ratio, all right, you are drawing yourself into that picture. You have to think not only as a photographer, but also as a viewer. What's drawing you into that picture? What's making you looking at the picture? Okay? You just take a picture of like these disinfectant wipes. Something's got to draw you in. Something has to draw you in, okay? So, the main thing about that
Is that too dark?
Is that too dark?
No.
You might be able to pick up the screen better.
The screen will speak up better. He's kind of blacked out, but I don't know how important that is to you guys.
Well, I mean, it's no big deal. I mean, no big deal.
But
But
like,
like,
no, I pick these up here, right?
but like this right here is what you have to understand whenever it comes to taking a photo. I'm gonna click on this right here so that you guys can get a better idea. So take a look at this rose. Perfect example, okay? This picture's a little bit off right there, but it's perfect within the golden ratio. So this is the center of the rose. It's drawing you out straight from there. There you go, okay? That's a perfect example of the golden ratio. This is a great shot whenever it comes to nature, okay? So, for instance, I just showed you all a picture of my of these flowers. I'm getting messaged like crazy. It's kind of driving me nuts. So, there we go. So, in nature in here, whenever you compose a shot, say of these flowers right here, one thing that you guys want to do is that you want to make sure that whatever you guys are looking at, is it going to draw you in? Okay? So, the best thing for something like this is zoom in just a little bit, okay? You want to have this nice bokeh right here. A good way to do that is bokeh. Bokeh is your blur. Remember that, okay? What is bokeh?
Blur.
Say it again.
Blur.
There.
Bokeh is what?
Blur.
Thank you. So,
The late 90s British rock?
song two. So what happens is that right here, that golden ratio that I just showed you can go any way. It doesn't have to be a specific way. It can go any way that you want. It's just so it draws you in. It can go from top to bottom, left to right, right to left, bottom to top, diagonal, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, okay? So this right here, what's happening right here? We're seeing the same pattern. It's coming around here and going up this way, okay? So, nature shot, remember that golden ratio. Now, one of the things that you all are supposed to cover is a news event. Well, earlier this summer, I went to one of the BLM rallies that we had. Okay? So, this is right out front of the Jazz Depot. These are all these protesters. Okay? Now, right over here is the guy who's leading it all. You can't really see it because this is not, it needs to be blown up. But like right here is the guy who's leading it, and he's taking charge of it. So, right here, again, we see that golden ratio. Everything is encompassed.
Have you edited that photo?
Very, very little.
It looks like you've lightened that in where he is a tad.
I brought this up just a little bit because this was a little dark, but other than that, no.
Because that area where he is looks a little bright.
Yeah, because I wanted to highlight him.
And I like that, but I wondered if you had.
Yeah, like this right here, the shadows were like you can go in and do this in Photoshop, where you can just heighten the shadows just a little bit.
Did you shoot that in black and white?
Beg pardon?
Did you shoot it in black and white, or did you edit it with black and white?
Most of these were not shot in black and white.
Okay.
So just to let you know.
Okay, just curious.
But I use black and white as an aesthetic. Okay, when you shoot in black and white, it's an aesthetic, and you have to look at it like that. Why does black and white work? Black and white works because of its poignancy. especially whenever you take a portrait. It just kind of equalizes everything. Okay? It really does. There's something about black and white. You also have to realize that black and white was there first. Okay? Black and white photography was there first. Black and white movies were there first before color came along. All right? So, you just have to realize that whenever you shoot an aesthetic like this, you have to look at this as like, when I was shooting this, I was thinking like the 1960s protests. Okay? It's kind of the same stuff we're seeing now. All right? So, I chose black and white because black and white has that sort of historical value. Now, thank you.
I think any type of rally or any type of even campaigns or protests or any type are all good options for that.
Oh yeah, especially now. Like, recently we just had one for. Now we didn't have a rally per se, but it was just a gathering for the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Oh yeah, they had one downtown.
They had one downtown.
They had a vigil at Kimball, I think,
Mhm. I went there, and it wasn't a whole lot of people there.
earlier this week.
Yeah, it was on Saturday, because like she died on Friday. They had a vigil on Saturday. It was really quick. So
There's probably gonna be more.
I
bet the day of her service there will be.
there probably will be.
That might be a good option for y'all if you keep an eye on the news.
But just keep your ears to the ground whenever it comes to breaking news. That's how these people work, is that whenever you go out and you take photos of a breaking news story, more often than not, the photographers are already there. You just got, make friends with reporters, say, hey, where are you all gonna be at? What are you guys gonna be doing? Obviously, this BLM rally exploded. Like, I don't know if they were expecting that many people, but it was just an absolutely huge news event because obviously it was the biggest news event of this year besides everything else. So what other options do we have? So, all right, let's move on to portraits, shall we?
So when you say like the like middle would like start with the speaker guy? Okay.
The golden ratio is right there,
Okay.
okay?
Or you can do rule of thirds too.
Yeah, I'll do rule of thirds. So, let's see, let's move on. In fact, let me go ahead and just touch on that real quick. Rule of thirds. How many, I may have showed you all this last time. He may have talked about it. How many of you know the rule of thirds? Raise your hands high. Okay.
It's covered in video as well, so
Yeah, that's
it
what
crosses
I
between the
read.
two.
So you guys have got a pretty good footing on it, but I'm going to go ahead and show you really quick the rule of thirds and what it means. So let's just use this picture of the dollar. So when it comes to rule of thirds, you shoot on a grid of 9 squares. Okay? So a grid of 9 squares. The golden ratio, the rule of thirds, go hand in hand. Okay? All right? Now, what is this different for? This just helps you align your photo. Okay? The rule of thirds helps you align your photo. This right here, do you want to have, would you rather have this in the center? Or would you rather have this over here? It's a magnificent photo. You have a dog that's looking out on the landscape over the edge right here. This whole background is blurred. What do we call that?
Bokeh.
There you go. All right. So this is a nice and bokeh area. The dog is in the cross points, and that's kind of where you want your subjects. Okay? You want them in the cross points. That way, it helps you align everything else better. Okay? And you can use it in anything. You can use it in your product photography. Your product photography, that's going to come into play like crazy. Okay? So you just need to make sure that the rule of thirds and the golden ratio, just remember those two. The world is your oyster whenever it comes to photography. Okay?
You can draw the golden ratio right into that
Yeah.
with it. You can see it right there as it spins on up and spins into his face. You see that? And
You probably start like right there and just circle on out that way.
You
Okay?
can come from any corner.
Yeah.
That's one other thing I'll add too on the golden ratio. You can come from any point.
Yeah, you can.
So that isn't always in the bottom right, it can be different corners.
Yeah, I mean, that the golden ratio is not stationary to any one point in your photo, okay?
Keep in mind that most people read from left to right, so they also view from left to right on photos.
So,
And that's a big thing we do in advertising, is an advertising shot, you want them to read the photo like they'd read an article, and most people, of course, read from left to right, so you want to draw the eye from left to right.
so, nature. Have we covered nature? I think we have.
Yes,
We have.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll just go ahead and just use this as a landscape right now. Actually, you know what? No, I am going to.
You've got better landscape.
You
Go to a
haven't
different
covered
place.
nature.
You've got a whole lot
Only
more
you.
landscape.
How about right there? So, Tallgrass Prairie Preserve. You can't get any more landscape than that.
Pahuska,
Pahuska. Yeah.
Pahuska,
Yeah, there you go.
Pahuska, Pahuska,
You-
potato.
If I can say this right now, y'all need to just take a trip out there. Just go on like a Sunday afternoon, y'all ain't got nothing to do, okay? Because you will see the most amazing landscapes in the world, okay? Or at least around here. But like, here we
It's
go.
about an hour drive if you've never been there,
It's not a bad
from
drive.
here.
And also, the Pioneer Woman stuff is over there.
Yep.
So, go get yourself some.
Go eat at the Mercantile if you're there.
But
It's
yeah,
good food.
landscape. We have a nice blend of half and half here. We have the sky, we have the landscape here, okay? So, where does the golden ratio fit in this? Well, actually, it fits in right around here. Because you're looking at this giant patch of grass, it extends on. What you want to do is, whenever it comes to your photos, for your landscape photo is, how far are you looking out? Your focus point should be infinity. And what I mean by that is this. How far is this extending out? Right here in the middle, okay? Because right here in the middle, it seems to go on forever, okay? Forever and ever and ever.
You're using leading lines on that too.
Pretty much,
We
yeah.
probably need to cover that a little bit, because that's a good example of leading lines.
Mhm.
You want to tell them what that is, Jim?
So leading lines, what he was just saying is, goes into your photo. What draws you into the photo? Now, it's a what do you call it? A play in psychology, almost. Because what happens is that if it's drawing you in, it's not drawing you away from the picture. Most pictures draw them into themselves. Okay? As weird as that sounds, it's true. But take a look at it like this. Look at any magazine. Open up any magazine. You open up like a center spread or whatever, most of the time, the people are looking at each other. Okay? Everything is heading into each other. All right? Because whenever you do stuff like that, you're drawing everything into itself. All right? That's how leading lines works. Now, leading lines like this, let me get another one.
Leading lines is kind of like, I like what Andrew said about psychology. It's, our brain is triggered to follow certain things. And sometimes those leading lines are objects or, yeah, objects right there. That's a beautiful example of leading lines.
Where's it leading to? It's leading towards the center. All right? So that's what we want. We want the center. We want to have the center of attention.
That's
Okay?
like a cathedral downtown, isn't
It
it?
is. And this was during, I don't know if y'all remember this, these giant Mamatis clouds that came through. They were beautiful. But like, because like, there was these little puffs of clouds that were right at sunset. You don't get those a whole lot. But it only happens like right after a tornadic storm. Okay? But yeah, this right here, this could be another, so for architecture, you were asking about architecture. That could be a perfect example of architecture, photography.
Yep.
Was it you that was asking about it, or you? It was you? You?
For architecture?
Yeah.
That was me, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, excuse me. But yeah, that's a perfect example of how architecture photography works. It's got to draw in on itself.
I shot those clouds with my phone from home. I'm gonna try to find them. Because I was amazed by them that night.
They were so gorgeous, and
A photographer keeps their eyes open at all times.
whenever it comes to like taking photographs like these, I'm never home. I am out for maybe like 3 or 4 hours. I sometimes burn a tank of gas going. But the thing is that like, when it comes to architecture, you wanna capture like, not as many details as possible, but you wanna make sure that you get the idea that this photo right here is capturing a building. A building, you have to look at it kind of spiritually. Obviously, this is a church. So you have to look at it like, how many stories has this building told? It's a building. You can look at it as an inanimate object. But like, how long has this building been here? We don't know how long that building has been there. But what you're doing is that you're capturing it from a faithful standpoint. Does that make sense? Yes.
What do you mean? Like how is the capturing of it like the faithful standpoint?
A faithful standpoint. What you're doing is that you are taking a look at this and you're thinking like, how many stories has this told?
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So how many stories has this told? How many stories has this held? Been here for probably over 100 years.
Mhm.
There's no telling. There's no telling what it is.
Yeah.
But what you can do is you can capture it and use your natural surroundings and capture it in the best way possible with the best natural light possible.
Okay.
So,
It's almost like the sky is like angelic and like
Yeah.
just like heaven.
almost, yeah. And the other thing you have to realize is this. Don't look for just like taking a picture at it from like across the street. Get the best angle possible, okay? What I did right here was I took my camera and I just angled it down like that. And I just took. I probably took like 10 pictures just to get that. Because when it comes to sunsets, your window is maybe 20 minutes. Maybe 20 minutes, okay? Because as soon as that sun is down, all that goes away, okay?
Did you use manual?
And that has been edited too.
That has been edited, yeah. Obviously, you can see my watermark, so yeah, it has been edited. But,
But it was probably a great photo before it was even edited. I don't know if you have the raw.
this was shot as it was.
Yeah.
So you
I'm trying to find my photo.
you could take that for what it is. You could use that as a landscape, you could use that as architecture, you could use that as a cityscape, however you want to, okay? So, right now, I want to stop. Does anybody have any questions for me?
But
So
do you
why is
think-
that?
No, go
sorry,
ahead.
So why is that architecture? Isn't that more of a landscape picture?
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying, is that you
Yeah.
could use that for either landscape or architecture.
Oh,
Architecture because
All the buildings.
it's the buildings.
even though they're zoomed out, still,
Mhm. Because it's a modernization of the landscape.
okay.
It's kind of just what we're doing now. It's just kind of the times that we're living in. So, let's see if I can find one. Let's see if I can find one architecture. A better example of architecture.
Trying to find my raw photo of
Here it
those.
is.
You just said earlier, like cityscape, does that count as a landscape? Or is that just a whole different thing entirely?
I'll leave that up to you. What do you think, Bruce?
I'd say a cityscape could be either one, but you're gonna have to have the other one, if you choose it to be that, you're gonna have to have something else for the other one that fits.
Okay.
Does that help?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here you go. Stairway to wherever, okay? We have all these lines right here. We have all these leading lines, these oblique angles. That draws your picture in. That draws your viewer in. That draws the person who's looking at this. It's just like, whoa, what is that? All it is just a simple fire escape. But the art of it is everywhere, okay? And you have to look for it.
I love that one.
You have to look for the art and stuff, okay? And people look at it and they're just like, people every day look at stuff and they're just like, hey, it's just an inanimate object. Yeah, but it actually took that much time just to design it, okay?
This is one I took that was landscape.
It took someone,
And
God knows how much time
called
to install that,
landscape.
to design it, to get it to where it is now. That's probably over 50 years old.
I've shown that one. That's one I
Oh, there
shot
you
with
go.
landscape that was using silhouettes. And it's a basic landscape, and it's not been edited. This is a raw photo.
Let's go to portraits right now,
I
okay?
was looking for that other cloud one I found. That's one I'm really proud of, that I've shot. Megan, you see it?
Yeah, you should.
Took this photo, I was out on a shoot. I was out on a shoot and I took this photo of this gentleman who was just sitting on a park bench. And he was looking at me with his mask on. And he looked at me and he said, "Thank you for wearing your mask." Like he was thanking me for wearing my mask. I don't know why he was doing that, but I wanted to capture this because just the way he was looking, and he was just being really kind. And it says everything. He's an older gentleman. He's got his mask on in this pandemic time. He later told me that he does have like a breathing problem. That's why he was thanking me for wearing the mask. So, what I wanted to highlight were his eyes. Okay? This man had beautiful eyes. He really did. Okay?
See? Blue.
So,
Blue.
yeah. And he had beautiful eyes for just this dark time. Okay? It's just an awful time. I mean, not an awful time we're living in, but not a good one either. But like, you know, it's kind of a breath of fresh air. He just wanted to look straight into the camera, and that's all I did. I just told him to lower his glasses just a little bit. So when you're capturing portraits like these, especially when it's street photography like that, it's best to just capture stuff in the moment. Okay? Capture stuff in the moment as it's happening. If you want to capture a portrait like this, don't offer the people like too much direction. Don't be like, "Hey, can you just jump up in the air real quick?" You know, you just say, "Hey, just take your glasses down. You just don't have to stay. You don't have to move if you don't want to." And if people don't want their photo done, fine, move on. Some people don't want it, so you can't make them do it. But when it comes to like portraits, like the type of like senior portraits, okay? Senior portraits. So let's move on to that real quick. Let's move on. This right here. I'll lower this real quick. Brian Garrett. We took this in the auditorium. So we took this in the auditorium. I had a light facing down this way, and I had a light coming up right behind him, and I threw up some fog around him. I just wanted to capture, like, because his passion is music, okay? His passion is music, and that's him, okay? If you ever hear him on stage playing the saxophone, he's really good at it. And what's happening here? You're capturing him in the moment. You're capturing him as the way that he's doing this, in the moment as he's doing this. Does that make sense? No, I've just like got a lot of words together, but.
Do you think this one also could be considered like news, like because it tells kind of a story?
No.
Or what about movement?
He wasn't really moving much, was he?
No.
He was probably posed.
He was just posing.
Oh, okay.
So,
But if it was like a concert type thing, they were moving, would that count as action?
possibly.
You really want to see the movement.
Yeah, if I was gonna capture him, I wouldn't capture him. I'd capture like a drummer.
Yeah.
Because a drummer,
Like,
Their sticks.
whenever they're going down, they're banging,
what about like if their mouths like were open and they're singing?
that's fine. That's an action right there, because it's going in the moment.
Yeah.
Dancing. when you do
Dancing,
it.
there you go. Dancing or, let's see.
Running, jumping,
Um,
mosh pitting.
Theater. Theater is a great thing whenever it comes to capturing any type of action. Now, right now, obviously, we're having a hard time with this, but you can also stage something to as much as you can. Okay, so just use your surroundings whenever it comes to stuff.
Look at Facebook events.
Yeah.
There's tons of things happening.
There's
You
stuff,
can do them safely.
there's stuff that's starting back up. Okay. There's stuff that's starting back
Last
up.
weekend was the Rogers County Fair. There were tons of people everywhere.
Yeah.
I went to that. No one was wearing a mask.
I know, I was.
Horrifying.
I know. It was, I hope you kept your
Our coaches
distance.
were like,
I tried my best, but there were
It's
so
like
many
COVID
people
flags.
everywhere.
Yeah, it was scary. I went to watch fireworks.
But, see, I got one more for Mike. Is it micro or macro? Anyway, yeah, macro. This right here. It's a viceroy butterfly sitting in the parking lot.
Beautiful.
All right.
You lucky dog.
I mean, it was just sitting there right next to my car, and it was just sitting there like flapping its wings. It wasn't going anywhere. And I took maybe probably 15 or 20 pictures on this. Okay? Now let me make it really clear whenever you're out taking photos. If you're ever out taking photos of anything at all, don't worry about capturing that one specific picture and then moving on. Take your time with it, okay? Take your time with the photos. Don't worry about people like just taking one photo and then moving on. Chances are you may have captured a bad photo, okay? Do I capture bad photos all the time? Yes, I do. It's like what I said last time. If you're not making mistakes, you're not learning, okay? All right. So
That's one of my cityscapes I did off the top of a car, so I showed the reflection. I love reflection in photos.
Oh, yeah.
That's another skill that you can tie in. You use a lot of reflection.
I do use a lot of reflection.
So this would be a close-up?
This would be a
That was
close-up.
sitting on top of my car.
Close-up or
showing
macro,
the-
yeah.
Did you have
got
to,
reflection of the car.
Edit and blur everything
That's
out
not been edited.
more, or it's,
It's just a
It's a
camera.
cityscape. at
I was
night
using a
downtown.
specific lens too. I was using a prime lens.
You look for things to help you. I mean, steadying your camera on top of something can make all the difference in the world.
Here's something else that'll help you out.
I use the car.
What else has a reflective surface?
Reflections are cool. I've used reflection as one of the, oh yeah.
Yeah, your phone itself has a reflective surface. You could use that.
I've used reflection as one of the photos in the past because it's one of my favorites. You do a lot with reflection too. But I didn't put it in this mix this time. But if you want to incorporate reflection into any of your photos, you're welcome to. It's another tool,
Yeah, exactly.
tactic,
Exactly.
strategy.
So, this right here, she was asking earlier about, could this be used as macro or close-up? The answer is yes. This right here, all right, my aperture was incredibly low, okay? So I use a specialty lens for this. It's a 1.8, all right? 1.8 aperture. The aperture in DSLRs is like 3.5. You can still get this, you can still get a nice black background blur, or
okay.
you're gonna get that nice background bokeh right here, no matter what type of lens you use, okay? Now,
That also could be nature.
this also could be nature. I mean, it's really just kind of a mix of genres.
And you can decide where you want to put it,
Yeah.
or categories.
So, let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to cover.
Can you talk about light and dark
Light and dark.
and foreground? And well, you kind of really covered foreground and background, but maybe light and darks
Okay.
in for their eye, you know.
Yeah.
I don't want them to depend completely on editing to get their lights and darks.
No. So, what is the best time to shoot photos?
Where's that overcast?
Cloudy.
That's the best time to shoot portraits, but what's the best time to shoot? Hey, you're not wrong. But what's the best time to shoot photos?
Mornings?
Golden hour.
I almost said that, but I thought maybe it'd be a twist.
Morning is part of it, okay? It's between like an hour after sunrise, like from sunrise to about, when the sun reaches about like a 45-degree angle, probably about like an hour after sunrise. So when sunrise is plus an hour. Golden hour also goes to an hour before sunset, okay? And why is that? It turns everything just this nice hue of gold, and it looks amazing. So, for light and darks, what he was saying right here is, there's a nice contrast right here. The sun was about an hour away before sunset. So I came out here and I took these photos right over the overpass, where this was nice and lit up, but we were sitting directly above a rain cloud. And this was in the middle of summer, okay? This was in the middle of summer last year. And what's weird about this is this. While I was out here, it dropped 20 degrees like that. It went from humid to chilly. Yeah, the front came through. And what happened is that you see all this rain right here. So you see like a nice huge cloud. You see like this nice big light-filled cloud. And you got this nice dark cloud moving in here. But I wanted to make sure that I had to like time myself out just exactly right to get these buildings in the foreground because we still had some daylight. But you want to plan your stuff out like just before sunset, just before sunset, just after sunrise, okay? Because if you have that sun that's directly above you, it doesn't really do you very much good, okay? You just got to play with the sun, all right? You got to play around with the sunlight and just work with it. Now, when it comes to doing portraits, the best time to do portraits is during overcast. People say like, oh, well, it's just cloudy. No, it's not, because overcast diffuses the light. And there's no need for filters. There's hardly any need for touch-ups because it just naturally fills in every single shadow on people's faces. Okay? It just looks beautiful. It's like whenever you're in daylight and you're in a shadowed area. It just naturally fills it in. It naturally fills in the light. That's what happens like right now. You could go outside right now and get that same effect. Just go outside and take a look at someone. Do you see any shadows? Chances are you probably won't. Okay?
But we're doing portraits in the studio for this one?
Yeah.
Or- Okay.
And I'm
We're
gonna show
gonna
you.
try to do them for this class in the studio.
I'm gonna show you guys next week.
Yeah, next Tuesday morning at the beginning class.
Okay. So next Tuesday morning, I'm gonna show you all the advantages of using that studio downstairs.
You may even want to use that for some of your product shots too, but it's not a requirement.
We do have a product table down there, but
Yeah, we'll show that next Tuesday.
and students have used it. So there you go. Do you have any questions for me? Does that cover light and dark?
Last
Yes.
It's kind of more about the assignment in general, but both y'all can answer it. For the product shot, do you want that to include just the product, or can it be a product and the human?
What do you mean?
It depends on
Yeah, I was.
the way the ad would be created.
Like if it was.
Do you
like-
want to show the product being used? Then the human might make sense, but I don't know that you need a human in a shot unless it's being very engaging with the product.
Because I was thinking like, I could use my bike. Right, I don't need a person on a bike, I was curious.
You could show someone riding the bike, but you might actually show the bike itself or some of the features and benefits of the bike.
Yeah.
But if it was like face moisturizer or something,
Mhm.
you show like a person with.
Yeah, you could. You show them demonstrating the product. That would work.
Like one thing you could do is like have a shot of a person in a mirror and have the product like right here with the cap open while they're
Well, they're
looking
putting
at
it,
their face.
perfect idea.
So
But you want to show the product, not just, like if it was face lotion, you don't want to just show what's in the bottle, you want to show the bottle as well.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So great, that's a good tip.
Yeah,
So
because
if
otherwise, so what?
If you're like branding for like a t-shirt company, like you would want that t-shirt probably on a person, but you could do like close-ups of like the logo and like the
Yeah,
texture of the shirt.
Probably,
pretty much, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I remember seeing an advertisement.
People like to see products in use.
Yeah.
But you got to show the product packaging as well as the product in use.
Okay.
One of the things I saw one time, I remember this advertisement for a cell phone. And all it was this person holding a phone just like this. And it was like a mid shot, and you just see her just with her hand in her pocket and her phone like this. And it was for the phone. It was for the phone advertisement. And I'm like,
You couldn't see the logo or anything?
you didn't see no logo. You just saw the phone like this. But like, when you think about it for a second, like she's on the phone, she's obviously looking at it, she's obviously gonna use it. So you just kinda have to like, kind of put that in perspective a little bit. A little bit abstract, but also kind of works.
And product shots can be abstract. I'm thinking I want you guys to do pure product shots on this because it's a better way to start with product shooting than going to abstract probably.
Right.
That takes you in another area on advertising that takes a little more study and development to
Right.
get into because you use a lot of psychology. in it.
Because you also have to understand that when it comes to product photography, you're selling something. Okay? You have to sell that product to your viewer, to your consumer, as they call it. Alright, so it would be like looking at a car. You know, you're gonna look at a car, you're gonna go buy a car. Would it be weird if you know, let's see, what's a good way to put it? Super Bowl ads. All right, Super Bowl ads are abstract.
They've
All right.
become that very much.
They have become that a whole lot.
A lot of humor.
Yeah.
And it's usually very offbeat humor.
So like, you wouldn't think that like, how many of you remember Mountain Dew's Puppy Monkey Baby?
Yeah.
Yes.
And how frightening that thing was.
That's very abstract.
But the thing is, what they're doing in advertising is that they're getting you to talk about Mountain Dew. All right? It could be the weirdest thing in the world.
And they also wanted it to go viral.
Yeah, which it did. It worked. It got to go viral. That's how you have to work whenever it comes to taking product photography. Okay? So if you're going to take a picture of an action figure, you want to make sure that it's going to work for your product. So you want to make it work for the product and make it work for the people that you're representing. Because if it doesn't work for the people you're representing, they're going to say, sorry, we're not going to use that. All right?
Probably better wrap it up soon.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions for me? Okay.
Very good.
Give them a hand.
Thank you. Thank y'all very much.